Vlad the Impaler, the bloody truth behind Dracula. In 1431, in the shadow of Transylvania's dark forests, a child was born who would terrify kings, armies, and entire nations. His name was Vlad III, Prince of Wallachia. History remembers him by a darker title, Vlad Tepes, Vlad the Impaler. To understand his cruelty, you must first understand his childhood. Vlad was the son of Vlad II Dracula, a member of the Order of the Dragon, a Christian knightly order sworn to defend Europe from the advancing Ottomans. But loyalty to empires was fragile. When young Vlad was just 11, he and his brother Radu were taken as political hostages by the Ottoman Turks. There he lived under constant threat, learning the ways of war, diplomacy, and torture. Some say the brutality he witnessed in captivity shaped the terror he would later unleash. When he finally returned to Wallachia to reclaim his throne, he ruled with iron and blood. Enemies, rivals, thieves, even the disloyal among his own people met the same fate: the stake. His method of execution was infamous. Victims were pierced with a sharpened wooden pole, carefully angled to avoid vital organs so death came slowly, sometimes over days. Chronicles describe thousands of corpses lining roads and castle walls, swaying in the wind, a forest of the dead meant to send a single message: Vlad ruled without mercy. The most famous account came in 1462, during his war against the mighty Ottoman Sultan Mehmed II, the same conqueror who had taken Constantinople. When Mehmed's army marched into Wallachia, they encountered a scene out of a nightmare: 20,000 impaled corpses stretched across the battlefield. The Sultan's men called it the Forest of the Impaled. Hardened soldiers who had seen decades of war turned pale and sick at the sight. Some reports claim Mehmed himself ordered a retreat, unwilling to fight a man who could summon such horror. But Vlad was not only cruel to invaders, he enforced a ruthless code of justice at home. Thieves had their hands cut off, adulterers were burned, and liars were boiled alive. One legend tells that he placed a golden cup in the center of Targoviste, his capital. It remained untouched for fear of his wrath was greater than the lure of gold. To his people, he was both protector and monster, feared but respected. Yet outside Wallachia, his reputation grew into something darker. German pamphlets printed lurid tales of his cruelty, stories of children roasted and mothers forced to eat them, of feasts held among the dying, of blood-drinking rituals. Were these exaggerations propaganda spread by his enemies? Perhaps, but his cruelty was undeniable. It was this reputation that centuries later would inspire Bram Stoker's immortal vampire, Count Dracula. And then comes the final mystery: his death. In 1476, Vlad was killed in battle, betrayed by boyars struck down in the chaos of war. His head was said to be sent to Mehmed II, displayed in Constantinople as proof of his demise. But what of his body? Some claim he was buried at the Snagov Monastery near Bucharest. Excavations centuries later, however, uncovered nothing. No body, no bones, only an empty grave. Others whisper he was reburied in Naples, Italy, under a plain headstone that gave no hint of his bloody reign. The truth remains elusive, and with it a lingering question. Did Vlad the Impaler's grave ever stay closed? This is where fact slips into shadow. Some villagers long after his death swore they saw Vlad's figure roaming the hills at dusk. Chroniclers wrote of an unearthly chill around his supposed resting places. And just as myths of vampires grew across Europe, the name Dracula, son of the dragon, became forever entwined with legends of the undead. What makes Vlad so terrifying is not just what he did in life, but what he represents in death. The idea that cruelty so extreme cannot be buried, that some legacies rot in the soil and rise again, whispering through centuries. So the question remains: was Vlad merely a brutal prince of the 15th century? Or did his legend slip the bonds of mortality to become something darker? The truth, like his grave, may never rest. If this bloody story horrified you, there are darker tales still waiting. Catch them all at Yahweh Stories 544, where history bleeds into horror.